What's up, everybody? This is the Fan Dude 21 back once again. And what you're looking at here today is a 42-inch antique brass S.M.C. Royal Flush. This fan here dates to sometime around 1983 or 1984, and it is, of course, a 3-speed fan, electrically reversible motor. This is definitely the oldest, the very first iteration, and also the weirdest iteration of the Royal Flush series. These were introduced sometime around 1982, and this variation here probably lasted sometime until about 1984 at the latest. As you can see here, the fan shares the same switch housing as what you'll see on the earlier S.M.C. Lagunas. But really what sets this fan apart is the blade irons. Definitely a very interesting design blade iron here. It seems like they were a very half-ass attempt at a pretzel bracket. As they are stamped, but they are stamped steel, but they're actually a pretty decent stamped steel. They're pretty heavy gauge. The very latest iterations of the Royal Flush series also had stamped steel blade irons, and they were pretty damn flimsy. They were very thin. These are pretty thick. But I can already tell you that you can already notice that the freaking irons go straight out of the motor. Usually on hugger fans, they got a dip. The blade irons dip down, but as you can see, the fan doesn't do that. They just shoot straight out. But if this fan were to be installed on a drywall ceiling, we'll give it probably 5 inches at the max clearance from the ceiling to the blade. So definitely not a real good design for air movement, as the fan has a pretty shallow pitch of 10 degrees, and it's not a really fast fan, but it's decent. I mean, it moves decent air because of the open rafter ceiling here in my test shop. But yeah, they definitely redesigned this fan in 1985, gave it the stamped steel switch housing, and gave it cast brackets which dipped down and solved that problem altogether. The fan blades are stenciled. They are an oak finish. They are reversible to a plain oak finish on the other side. And they do have the wide blades that was a characteristic of earlier S.M.Cs. They skinnied out the blades quite a bit in 1985 with the redesign of this model. And the motor housing design actually stayed the same all the way until 1987. That was the last year. When 1988 came around, they redesigned the motor housing, and they kept the same cast brackets for a little while, but in the 90s they went back to stamped steel before the line was discontinued in the mid to late 90s, 1996 if I were to guess. But anyway, this fan here is actually brand spanking new. It's the first time it's ever been installed. I do have the original box, and I'll show you that later, but otherwise we'll go and give this thing a demonstration. Start up here on the low speed. The fan uses the stamped steel brown motor, which I don't think S.M.C. when were stamped steel pretty much in the very early 80s, where a lot of companies were still using cast iron motors. But S.M.C. used to make cast iron motors in the older fans before they started producing fans in America, or selling them in America. Produced in Hong Kong. But yeah, it's a decent sized stamped steel motor, and in 1988 they redesigned the motor altogether and really cheapened it out. Made it smaller, and the bearings were piss poor on those motors. Take it up to medium. Bearings on these older brown motors are pretty decent. Low and medium speed are pretty respectable. Pretty nice low speed on the fan. And The medium speed here is decent. Pretty decent medium. Go ahead and take it to high. The tassel pull chain on the fan is original. It's what came with it in the box. And this is, of course, the fan's high speed. Probably doing around 180, 185 RPM if I were to guess. I mean, it spins pretty good, you know, at a pretty good pace. But the blade pitch, like I said, it's only 10 degrees. I mean, right now it moves a pretty decent sum of air as it, like I said, open rafter ceiling. But if it were on a drywall ceiling, I can see this fan actually not performing very well at all. And we'll go and flip it into reverse mode and turn it back on low. The motor also has a running whine to it when it's on the high speed as well, but of course you can't hear that. The speeds in the updraft mode are pretty much the same. Nothing really much different about them. Take it back to medium. And back to high. And we'll go and let it coast. And there's the fan stopped. So we'll show you the box. This is the box. These are sold through Kmart. There's the original price tag there. Royal Flush 42. S.M.C, of course, if you didn't know, stands for Shell Electric Manufacturing Company, or Shell Manufacturing Company, technically. There's the graphic on the box for the fan. Available in 3 finishes: antique brass, polished brass, and white and polished brass. Top of the box there shows you mounting and instructions for the fan. Of course, the features for electrically reversible motors. Other side of the box just shows the same exact thing. They say it's 7 inches down from the ceiling on the box here, but I highly doubt it. I think you're probably a little bit closer to the ceiling than that. And on the bottom here, as long as the box don't fall, that is the shipping label. This fan was distributed out of the distribution out of Plymouth, Michigan, as it says right there. And it was distributed and sold out of the Kmart store in Mishawaka, Indiana. And I got this fan from a fellow fan collector that lived in Wisconsin from the local Fanimation trip. And real quick, here is the original installation instructions. Not much else to see. Well, that's why I wish I had tables. Registration warranty card there. On this page is some schematic diagrams for troubleshooting, other wiring options that you can do. And we'll take back to the fan here. Like I said, very weird brackets. Gold stencil blades, which is definitely earlier. The later models had a cream colored stencil with a darker oak finish blade, which stood out like a sore thumb. The tag on the side of the motor, which was commonplace for these older U42s, 1987 on back. There you go. And that's about it for this video. So thank you for watching. And I do hope you enjoyed this video of this 42-inch S.M.C. Royal Flush, or more commonly referred to as the U42, which is their model number. So we'll see you next time, everybody. And of course, take care.